This episode of the Linux Action Show is brought to you by DigitalOcean and by Ting. Go to last.ting.com and save $25 off your first device or your first month of service. Welcome to Linux Action Show, episode 330. My name is Chris.
My name is Matt.
Hey, Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Are you ready for me to tell folks about the huge show today?
Heck yes.
All right, well, coming up on this week's episode of the Linux Action Show, we decided last week's episode, where we answered some common questions that have been coming into the show, was received so well that we do one more of those. And so a question we've gotten a lot is, hey, guys, I really want to explore Gnome. I'm an Ubuntu user. I'm using Unity right now, and I don't want to wipe all of my data out. I don't want to reload all my programs.
Makes sense.
So in today's episode, we're going to do a how-to on how to get the latest version of Gnome on Ubuntu 14.04 and get you ready for 14.10 when that ships. And if you're not an Ubuntu user or a Gnome user, I think it'll still be fascinating from how the other side lives, how this works, and I wouldn't be too surprised if in a few releases, some of the specifics we use aren't available anymore to Ubuntu. I'll get into that later in the show, so we'll tell you about that.
Okay.
And then in the news segment, ZFS on Linux just got a massive technical endorsement, and he says, this author, that it is production ready. I'll go over that with you, and also I'll recap some of the conversation Alan and I had on TechSnap about it.
Good stuff.
Also, some great news for Arch users. Like, you know, Arch is famous for being like one of the hardest distributions to use, and now something's coming along that is phenomenally easy, and it's going to be really cool to see how this plays out. And then last but not least, some new Chrome OS news has me a little worried that Chrome OS might become a bit bigger of a threat to desktop Linux than we thought. So I want to chat about that, a couple other things in the news, and then in the feedback segment, last but not least, see, I told you this is a big show. On Tuesday's Linux Unplugged, we stirred the system depot just a little bit, and we got a ton of feedback.
Oh, boy.
So we have some follow-up and some questions that we want to ask you, and we'll cover that in the feedback segment. I think I had no idea the level of passion and interest in the general audience about this, so we have some more follow-up that we want to talk to you about. That'll be coming up towards the end.
Nice.
Huge show. And of course, on top of all of that, like always, we're going to start with our picks this week. And I'm doing another Kickstarter pick. It's been a couple of weeks, but you know me, I like to do the ones that we know are a locked-in thing, and they're running Linux. This is going to become a general product if this is successful. It's called the iGuardian. Not an Apple thing. No, it's called the iGuardian, the Home Internet Security System. It is a Linux-powered box, and I'll show you a picture of it right down there. There it is.
Oh, okay.
That's a prototype. You can get, of course, they're doing the obligatory compared to the size of a banana or a box of gum. And to put it briefly, this is an IDS. This is running Snort. And I think a mixture of other technologies in here as well that essentially give it a intrusion detection system for the home. It's based on OpenWRT. Snort is the inline intrusion prevention system. Snort uses TCP dump to analyze your network traffic in real time and match it for malicious traffic patterns, sort of like antivirus would scan your computer for virus patterns.
Right.
This is what Snort does for network traffic, and so it can recognize somebody that's banging on your SSH more than they should be, or somebody who's trying to knock on your router's admin front door, something like that. Snort is aware of this type of activity and can then actually, depending on where it is in your network chain, and if you want to give it the ability, can in real time block it.
Oh,
so that's pretty neat.
That.
Yeah.
Like that.
So this is something to bring, because of course that's something that's pretty much used in the corporate space because you have to set it up and admin it. This is something that is meant for the home schmo. Somebody who's got a lot of devices, maybe like an IP-connected printer, some Hughes lights, maybe a few other things like that. We're all starting to put all these things on a TCP/IP network that is connected to the wider internet network.
It's true.
But maybe we're not taking all the precautions or doing all the updates, and this is something I think they want to address. So I'll play a little bit of the video.
We founded IDIS Networks because we believe that everybody should always know that their home internet network and everything connected to it is always safe and secure. iGuardian gives you a very secure home internet connection that is easy to use, very affordable, and very effective.
The way people use the internet today is fundamentally changing. We really start seeing a much larger attack surface than previously, especially in people's homes. So every time you add an IP cam, or you add your VoIP adapter, or you add, any type of connected device in your home that's going to be accessing the internet, there is potential for there to be a vulnerability there and for somebody to be able to break into your home network. I worked as a product manager for one of the largest network security appliance manufacturers in the world. We've seen executives in the antivirus industry actually coming out and telling the Wall Street Journal that AV is dead, that it's no longer effective the way it used to be.
I agree.
Home consumer type wireless routers are built to be cheap and mass produced, and security is often something that they include as an afterthought. Security is not their core competency. When somebody gets infected with a virus or malware or something like that, they'll now be able to tap into all of your social network and see all of your friends, family, people that, you know, trust you. There's really nothing out there today that's bringing the business class type of security down to the consumer level. The iGuardian is the world's first internet security system designed specifically for home users. It sits right at the entrance point of where the data comes in and goes out, and it basically inspects all the traffic coming in and going out of your network. It utilizes the latest updates and security feeds from industry-leading threat research teams to be able to provide you with the type of protection that you would normally find in a business. We're using some of the highest quality parts that we can find, taking that enterprise-grade security that businesses rely on every day and making it affordable and simple so that anybody can install it in their home. Really taking business-class security and making it for everybody to be able to use. After installing it, you have peace of mind. You can trust that your family is safe when they go online. In order for...
you can watch the rest of the video on the Kickstarter page, but I thought that was pretty cool, and of course the creator of it is a Linux user, and the device itself runs Linux. It's funded, so this is already a thing, already going to become a thing.
This is great.
Yeah, and
it's a great idea.
It's been well reviewed by a lot of places, too, and I love that part of the marketing message for a device like this is that it runs Linux, and that gives it credibility.
Exactly. That's insinuating security right away. It's insinuating you're in a secure environment.
And I think you have seen the exact opposite happen with the Windows brand. The Windows brand almost becomes like a mark of death. Like a product that says powered by Windows is almost like consumers avoid that now. And I don't know if this is going to be a trend that extends all the way into consumer level products. This isn't quite at consumer level, but it's working to get there. And the idea that something that's working to get to consumers is using the word of Linux as a pro, I think is a really good sign about the general brand trust that people have in Linux. I know that's a weird thing to say, brand trust, but Linux, in a sense, is a brand, too.
Yeah, it is. It reminds me of, in like early days, Spam Cube back in the day was a thing. And that was, people were real excited about that for about 10 minutes. They thought, okay, this thing's going to be awesome and whatnot. But I think this actually differentiates himself because it's not strictly spam. It's like actually dealing with, real-time stuff.
And it's not going to be a perfect solution. I mean, an IDS never is. But I think the fundamental problem that even us, maybe, and you out there who watch this show or listen to the show, maybe you're good about updating your router and the firmware on your various devices that are connected to the network, but you know that the average person out there is not very good at doing that. I think 4 or 5 years ago, I gave everyone in my family wireless routers that didn't have them, and I doubt any of them have ever updated them once.
Oh no.
And this isn't going to be. This is like a belt and suspenders approach. This might be able to protect those people a little more and alert them, and if nothing else, serve as a gentle reminder like, hey, we just noticed you got port scanned, and it wasn't like your average port scan, but it was actually something that seemed a little targeted or fairly aggressive. That might just be enough of a reminder, sort of like the check your engine light is on your car, to go update the firmware to keep them secure. There's just something there telling them, hey, this is an actual real problem that you actually have to deal with, not something that's out of sight, out of mind.
Well, not only that, but I assume in your neighborhood as well, it's fun to drive around and see how many Linksys routers there are on the wireless access points.
Yeah, no kidding,
it's like,
right?
I'm going to do you a solid and change your admin password for you because you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's another problem.
I mean, so you got that level of stuff. They are so far beyond never going to, they're never going to update anything. They're going to replace that router before they change their password.
To be honest with you, if this product was a real success, like if it actually got market traction, it would seem like it would probably be productized by a larger company that would just make it a feature of like one of their like higher end routers or something. But I don't know if that would be good or
I
not.
think people that cater to home users as far as repair and address tablets and Android phones and whatnot, just kind of the people that they're dealing with on the one-on-one basis, I think this could be a definite tool that could be used in that space.
Yeah, the other thing is just, and then we'll get off this because some people probably don't care, but the other thing is that's an interesting trend that's happening is because so many people are doing their online banking on their smartphones and their tablets, and tablets and smartphones are much harder to put malware on. So traditionally, the way you would steal someone's banking credentials was you would put malware on their Windows Windows box, you would keylog as they would log in or screen scrape, and then use that to set up a fake page later on. But now that people are on tablets and phones, it's much harder to install keylogging type monitoring software on there. So what they're doing is they're doing DNS redirection, and they're sending people off to sites that look like legitimate bank login sites, getting people to enter in their credentials and their challenge and response question and things like that, and then capturing that. And if you could have a device like an IDS that could watch for those kinds of things, that would be another level of protection that average users could really benefit from.
Oh, totally. Especially if you have a workable example in a demonstration environment to where it's like, oh, you've never heard of this or you don't think this can happen? Why don't you go ahead and log into this right now and actually try and log into this page with your stuff and be like, oh, hey, that's a really weird password you got there. You might want to change it now. But I think to have a demonstration would definitely solve a lot of those problems. I think that's the break piece for a lot of these things, is that people need to see why they care. They need to see how it affects their lives.
And be reminded sometimes.
Yes.
Too. All right, Matt, why don't we thank DigitalOcean, our first sponsor of this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. I'm going to admit it. I love DigitalOcean with all of my little bitty itsy bitsy heart, because I have 3 droplets up there right now, and all 3 of them are like irreplaceable. Like I could never do without them. I don't know what I do without them. So first of all, I've got a BitTorrent Sync digital droplet that I've now dedicated to the Unfilter show that distributes a ton of media for Unfilter, because there's just gigs and gigs and gigs of media, and we have several hundred in that swarm. It's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really great. And DigitalOcean makes it really easy to spin up a server, because what I had is I had a box up there that was really pretty much exactly what I wanted, and I used that as a template to get my next one up and running.
That's my problem, is I keep coming up with these great ideas. It's like, oh man, I gotta spin up another droplet. I think I'm at like 6 now. I mean, it's like it's like, you know, I really need to, and I still haven't even done. There's a couple projects I still yet to do, so I got to probably looking at about 8.
Yeah, and then I've got of course, I got my own cloud droplet, which is epic and amazing.
That's one of the things I need to do.
Yeah, and I love that. And then we've got a development droplet that we're running for like just testing different stuff, and like it's
and website testing. God, that is so perfect for that.
And script testing and bot testing and all kinds of stuff. Exactly. And so there's a lot of reasons why you could choose DigitalOcean, but let me tell you a few. It really is an awesome, simple cloud hosting provider dedicated to offering the most intuitive and easy way to spin up a cloud server. Users can get a cloud server going in under 55 seconds. And here's what's awesome, okay, is they're backed by SSD drives, 20 gigabytes for the base plan, which is $5 a month, 512 megabytes of RAM, 1 CPU, and a terabyte of transfer connected to Tier 1 bandwidth with data centers all over the world: New York, San Francisco, Singapore, Amsterdam. In fact, they're rolling out IPv6 in more areas in the Amsterdam area and Core OS. It's awesome. The interface is simple, and their control panel is crazy super intuitive. It is amazing to me as someone who I have worked with virtualization since it came over to the x86 platform. I didn't really have an experience with it at the higher level systems that existed before them, but the day it came to x86, I was playing with virtualization. I have never, ever in my career seen a system as simple to use as this that is also as powerful. They have taken what would sometimes take... I had to deploy a VMware ESXi infrastructure for a bank that took 30 servers and massive storage backends, and it was a multi-month project to get all of that set up, to get the cloning and transfer of the images to the different data centers working, and all of that. Uncountless tens of thousands of dollars, and now DigitalOcean does it better and faster with a better to use interface. It's incredible.
Great pricing too.
Yeah, if you use the promo code, and this changes every month. So I got a tweet about this last night. Okay. And you got to keep in mind, this does change monthly, and it is lowercase. Okay. You got to use the promo code last September when you check out. That'll get you a $10 credit. Well, their base level machine, the one that Matt and I just rock all the time, is $5. So you can try that $5 rig for 2 months for absolutely free to see if you can do something with it. Maybe you can use it to learn Core OS or Linux administration. Maybe you can finally set up your own cloud server or sync ThingBox. What a great opportunity to have your own GitLab system or a self-hosted WordPress. They have one-click application installs too.
Telling you. And how hard is it to remember one word, last September? That's so easy, right?
Last September, all lowercase. I love it. Easy. Go over to DigitalOcean.com. If nothing else, go play with Core OS for 2 months. And their Amsterdam data center now with IPv6.
You know, talk about great opportunities. Here, you know nothing of IPv6. There you go. Get familiar with it.
Boom.
Get on it.
Bob's your uncle.
There it is.
All right. And a big thank you to DigitalOcean for sponsoring Linux Action Show. All right, Matt. So unfortunately, my app pick, I think this happens like once every month. I think maybe we have something we want to talk about, and right as we go to talk about it, their website goes down. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about grsync today, and the reason is because I think rsync is a great tool for folks to use for backups. And I think sometimes, even though it's actually really easy to use on the command line, and I recommend you could just bring up a terminal, do rsync -- help, and just look at the syntax. It's super easy. And the other thing to remember about rsync is you can run it in dry mode, and then if you're worried about like having one of your flags wrong or some of the syntax wrong, you can run rsync in dry mode, and it will do a test run and show you what it would have done. And so when you're dealing with your important data, that's really nice to have. But I always hear from some of you that, like a lot of times we'll get an email like, I know I can do it in the command line. I feel like it's safer if I do it in the GUI because I'm not going to make a big of a mistake. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that sentiment, but I understand a lot of you are in that spot. So I want to talk to you today about grsync, which is a graphical front end to rsync. And I want to say you should consider this if you're not doing any backups right now, because this might be a great way for you to have a nice solid backup of your computer. So as you might expect, you put in your source, you put in your destination where you want it to go. You can do things like preserve time, owner, permissions, all the kind of stuff, tell it to go verbose. It even has a lot of advanced options. You can go in here and make sure you can compress it if you're going to move it over. Like say you're going to move it up to a DigitalOcean droplet, something like that. You could compress it as you send it. You can set all your flags you would see on the rsync command line, all that kind of stuff. And the nice thing is, you can save it as, I don't know, I call them recipes, but you can save them, I guess, as presets. So you could have home directory preset, document presets, temp directory, whatever, or games directory, whatever it is. And then you can just go into the grsync application, you select that preset, you click run on this little rocket ship here, and
that's cool.
It's off to the races.
That's a really cool way of doing it, yeah.
And, of course, you can also say run as root if you need to. And you can do post and pre commands if you need to mount something before you run this. Like if you needed to do, I don't know, a fuse mount to an SSH file system, or you could, whatever, however you're going to do it, or an NFS mount, whatever it is. So grsync, that's app pick number 1 today. Matt.
Okay.
Number one.
Number 1.
But since we do have a web page outage, it seems only fair that we should have 2 app picks this week. And this week, I'm beginning a DuckDuckGo challenge.
Oh boy!
See, on my phone, right now, I'm running. I have 2 phones. I have the Nexus 5 here, and this is running Sailfish OS. And I'm not loving it, but at the same time, I'm not hating it.
You're kind of meh. Yeah.
I'm 100% Google free on this phone, and and again, I want to, maybe just in case you're new, I'm not like some big anti-Google guy or something. It's kind of an experiment to see if it can be done, to see how much, if there is a lock-in, and how long I can do it. I'm like a month in right now, I think, and I'm kind of trying to see how far I can make it. So I have the Sailfish OS on the Nexus 5, and I've got iOS 8 on the iPhone 5. And on both of them, I am absolutely Google free. And on the iOS 8 device, it ships now with DuckDuckGo as a search engine provider.
Does it? Seriously?
Yeah, and on Sailfish OS, it's super easy to set up. Right. But the one link I was missing was on my desktop.
Yes.
And I wanted to make it easier for me to start using DuckDuckGo, so I'm trying something new. And as you probably know, in Gnome, you have this activities overview where you can type something in and you can search, right? So I could put... I don't know, maybe I'll put Red Hat in here. What would I search for, right?
Yeah, there it is. Oh, so you have search on the web.
So the search for the web. And now it'll fire up and it'll send my search query over to DuckDuckGo, and I get my results. And I think, maybe because I haven't logged out of Gnome Shell, but I actually think there is a way, too, to get the results in the activity overview live right there. But I just installed this morning because I just found out about this. So this is an extension. It's also available in the Arch user repository if you're an Arch user.
That's kind of cool.
And it's just Gnome Shell search provider DuckDuckGo.
Yeah.
And you add that, and now Gnome can search DuckDuckGo for you.
How do you feel about DuckDuckGo so far as relevance?
So for technical queries and things like that, I think it's been really spot on.
Okay.
I'm only really kind of a casual. I don't search a ton really, like from my devices. So now that I have it on my desktop, I'll be doing a lot more searches actually from the desktop and not so much from mobile.
Okay.
And that I think will be interesting because then it'll be more of a range of things like local stuff and like research stuff and like, probably whatever I might search for. Like right now, it's mostly like when I'm looking up like a restaurant name or something like that on the phone.
Then that's totally fine.
And so I wanted to make, because right now I just don't think about it, right? Because I got the browser up and I just immediately go to Google.
Yeah.
But now if I'm going to build it in my desktop, I think I'll start using it more. So
interesting.
I'll let you know how it goes, Matt. I'll report back.
I've tried it before, didn't have a lot of success. Be willing to try it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I always figure it's worth coming back to. Exactly. Because it's like, okay, well, if it didn't work great for me one time, doesn't mean that it's not continually getting better.
Maybe refined a few things.
And since I'm on the Google free experiment, and I'm not, I'm not totally Google free everywhere. Like I still have a Gmail account, and we're still using Docs. Yeah. But like all of like my contact info and that kind of stuff, and my calendar and all of that, I'm kind of moving out.
Very cool.
I'm going to start. Just
see what happens. Yeah.
All right, I got a Spotlight app.
Yeah.
There's a Gnome theme today because we're going to talk about Gnome in the later half of the show, and there's a There's an app that they're working on right now. It's definitely a work in progress. It's called Builder. And here's a screenshot of it for you. It's a text editor that is really meant for all kinds of different languages, but I just noticed they added Markdown support.
That got your attention.
So this is Builder is a new IDE for writing GNOME software is how they bill it. Okay. And so obviously they support more than just Markdown. However, I want to give them a quick plug as our weekly spotlight this week because Builder for GNOME looks awesome.
Very cool.
However, bit of a disclaimer here, Matt.
Okay.
I'm not trying to call Blackout 24 out in the IRC right now.
Never.
But he is the maintainer of the Arch user repository package build.
Oh.
And it currently fails to install because it says it can't find WebKit GTK2 or something like that. I'm not trying to call Blackout out,
boy.
But I want to give it a demo here on the show. And I couldn't demo it.
It could be an easy fix, just, go into what
I'm sure he's got it under hand. And actually, I think once GNOME... I think once 3.14 ships, the dependency will be there, and it actually will solve itself.
And that may be what he's waiting for.
Yeah. Yeah, he says you need GNOME 3.13 from the... See, he's in the IRC right now.
Oh, there we go.
You need 3.13 from unstable or wait till 3.14 hits stable. I can wait. In the meantime, we've got a screenshot. I'll give it another visit once we get all of the dependencies out there.
Nice.
But it's cool that it's already in the AUR. I like that, so I know it's near. I just got to wait a little bit. All right, Matt, let's do the news.
Hey, it's the news, and this episode is brought to you by
Ting.com, Matt. Ting is mobile that makes sense. Go over to last.ting.com. That'll take $25 off your first device. If you already got a Ting-compatible device, they'll give you a $25 credit. Matt and I are both rocking our... Still, actually, I feel like I've had this phone for a long time, but at the same time, I still love the Nexus 5, and now I got the Sailfish goodness on there. Sailfish OS, hello.
Nice.
Look at how slick that looks.
That's pretty.
Right?
Very, very pretty.
A lot of gestures.
A lot of gestures. You got to kind of...
Yeah. Sailfish OS don't know about right and left, but it definitely know about up and down. It does. It knows about that. So
it's not political.
What's great about Ting, either device, you get something like the Note, like Matt has, or the Nexus 5. There's tons of devices over on Ting. In fact, I have an iPhone 5 on Ting as well. And I think it's sort of the best of both worlds. You match the device you want with the service you're going to want, because Ting has no contract, no early termination fee, and this is the best part. You only pay for what you use, flat $6 a month, and then it's just your usage on top of that. Now, here's where it gets crazy. You can go get a dedicated LTE tri-band LTE data device with an OLED screen that gives you all the information about what's up with your signal and the battery and all that stuff. Makes it way easier to use. You can get a dedicated LTE device for $75 from Ting when you go to last.ting.com. Now, here's the best part. Since they do this as a data device, they just give you the $25 credit on your service. Well, okay, now, think about this.
Oh, man.
It's $6 for the line. And then it's just your usage. So that $25 credit, if you go get yourself that hotspot, that $25 credit could last you for months.
Right.
And essentially then at that point, you have a paid-for hotspot in your pocket with data available to you with LTE at any time. If you're in IT or support, or if you have connectivity needs, that's a slam dunk. That's just, of course, Ting has phones that include hotspot and tethering. Every Ting plan does. So you can also do that as well. Caller ID, picture messaging, all that. They also have no-hold customer service. But you know us, Matt.
Yes.
We love how much Ting loves their smartphone devices, and they have an app pick. I feel good. Like, Kyra took over the app picks for me, and I feel like she's doing a way better job than I ever did. So Kyra's here, Matt, with her weekly app pick.
Striving for that elusive empty inbox? I'm Kyra, and this is Ting's App of the Week. From the same people that brought you Dropbox comes Mailbox, a simple and super intuitive email app. You'll be at inbox 0 in no time. The trick is in the gestures. Like many apps, you can drag down from the top of the app screen to refresh your inbox. Tap a message and swipe to the right to mark as read and archive a message. Or swipe further to delete a message entirely. If a message requires your attention, but you can't deal with it right now, swipe to the left instead. Halfway, and you have an option to schedule a time to deal with the message.
Oh.
You can deal with it later on today, tonight, tomorrow morning, and so on.
That's sweet.
Or you can tap to set a specific date and time.
Oh, that's sweet.
Swipe all the way to the left, and you can label messages. While the default labels are to watch, to read, and to buy, these can be easily customized to your own preferences. More to the point though, once you've reached inbox 0, Mailbox's simple messaging tools make it easier to stay there. Of course, Mailbox also lets you do all the standard stuff, like reply, reply all, forward, or compose an email. I mean, that goes without saying, but we're saying it anyway, so there. Mailbox is free and available on Android and iOS. Links are in the description below. For more app reviews, make sure to subscribe to our channel.
Nice.
Last.ting.com. Go check them out. See why I've been a happy customer for you too, well over
I know,
a year now.
Right? It's like it's crazy.
I've got 3 lines on there. It's better than ever. Mail Holler in our chat room says now that he's doing full-time work, he's happier than ever. James in the chat room just got the Nexus 5 on the Ting network.
Nice.
It's really a great service. And you can head out and find out why the average Ting customer saves every single month. They just put that up on their blog post. You can
and that Mailbox app
well.
is awesome. For myself, I probably will never get to Inbox Zero, but I will tell you that the delaying feature, there's some stuff where it's like, I don't have a time. And you have like
I want to address this, but now is not the time.
And what's cool is then later on, if I have like, I can just hit the button to go over to all the stuff that's listed, and it's in priority order. I mean, it's really, really handy.
Yeah,
I like it.
Mailbox, I will check it out.
Yeah, check it out. As long as you don't go into it with the Inbox Zero thing, that's going to... Oh, and the gestures. That takes getting used to as to how far over does what.
But I could also see like how you could just whip through it, like whoop, 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 whoop.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
sweet.
Exactly.
Okay, Matt. So this is something that I think everyone has asked themselves. Every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth.
Definitely.
Most of you probably wake up and ask yourself immediately, first thought, is ZFS on Linux truly ready? Can I trust my data with ZFS? I know. We all think this. And now, at least according to Richard Yao, it is safe and trustworthy. He builds the case. In the short answer, he says yes, of course, depending on your definition of stable. He says the term stable itself is somewhat ambiguous, but he makes the case, and we talked about this in depth on TechSnap, that essentially boils down to 3 key components. Key ZFS data integrity features work on Linux just like they do on FreeBSD or any platform. That is core code that is common across all platforms. So that's already stable and in production in massive amounts of deployments and
it's good that he
installations.
addressed that, yes.
Yeah. ZFS runtime stability on Linux is comparable to other file systems with certain expectations that he documents. And the ZFS on Linux, or ZOL, is near feature parity with ZFS on other platforms. He also goes on to talk a little bit how it interfaces with the kernel and says that checks out. There's a few things that are not feature complete, but he goes on to make the point that sharing a common code base with other open ZFS platforms has given ZFS on Linux the opportunity to rapidly implement features available on other open ZFS platforms. There's currently some limitations. Upgrades require that users keep userland tools and kernel modules in synchronization with the version of ZFS on Linux. That means if you're doing a lot of kernel updates, there's the possibility of things could get a little wonky.
Exactly.
That sounds like a nightmare. So you have to watch out for that.
But I love the fact that he addressed that. That's good.
Yeah. They do plan to resolve that with a /dev/ZFS IOCTL stabilization approach. I'm not quite sure on how that's going to work. But they are working on actually addressing that particular problem. It's a temporary thing. Operation on 32-bit machines is not stable currently due to design limitations that he says are in Linux, and they were decided upon. So you have to use a 64-bit kernel. I don't think that's too surprising.
That's really not too big a deal for most people.
Bootloader integration is not refined as it is on other platforms, so it makes it a lot harder to boot off of ZFS. Grub 2 has decent support, while SysLinux has none. Patches are planned to improve both. People can generally work around this by following distribution-specific instructions for Grub 2.
That would be my recommendation, and Grub 2 is so common.
Or use extended 4 for your boot partition, and then ZFS for your data partition. I'm really conflicted here because I feel like the powers that be, whoever that is, or the overall herd mentality has decided that Linux has to go Butterfs due to licensing problems and just owning our technology and blah blah blah. Linux has to go Butterfs, and so while I read stuff like this, I feel like as somebody who plans to be a long-term Linux user. Am I doing myself a disservice by not just buckling down and learning to work with the Butterfs file system?
I'm one of those fellas that's like, it's not on fire yet, so I'm not really going to worry about it with most things in my life. So I think when it comes to my file system, I'm kind of the same way. It's like, what I'm using is working well enough now. No one's beating my door down to tell me to change it. I don't have any security issues that I'm currently experiencing that I know of. I don't have a compelling reason to make that switch, but I do want to keep my finger in the pool. I want to see what's going on and actually be... So when the time to change does come about, I'm not like completely in the dark.
I'm living vicariously right now through viewer Jed, who's running ZFS on his home Linux server, and especially this morning because he just popped 2 drives this morning.
Oh yeah, I read about that. Yeah, I was like, oh no, dude.
Yeah, ouch. But he's got it. I think he said he has 16 drives right now in this thing.
He rolls hard.
Yeah, and he's got a 120 gigabyte drive for like his ZFS cache, and he's running all ZFS on Linux. He took an old box and put Linux on there. I don't know. I'm considering it because
Yeah.
We're always dealing with needing to build additional storage machines in the studio, so I'm always thinking about, okay, what are we going to use for our next build? Are we going to go ZFS? And right now, I'm kind of leaning going ZFS, even though I feel like a big cheater on Linux. I feel like I'm cheating on my baby. I'm like, honey, I'm sorry, but I need this other file system's features.
Well, with my dad, I always live vicariously through him anyway, so I'm probably going to watch him and just kind of see how, because he's really awesome about blogging this stuff, so I can follow his blog and I'll know what's going on.
I'm a conflicted man, Matt.
Braver than I am, though. I don't know.
But according to Richard Yao, who has some credentials, and we talk about more of that in TechSnap, he says it is probably ready. And logically, it makes sense. The one thing that I think stands out to me as a warning sign before you switch to using ZFS, and I wouldn't use it for your boot partition, but the one thing that stands out to me is if you do a lot of kernel updates, if you're on Fedora, if you're on Arch, and you're doing frequent updates, you're going to need to make sure you can manage that. You might be able to manage that just fine. I mean, it might not be an issue, but it might. So if you've had problems before, worth considering.
If you're someone that is not, if that has a breakage and you don't want to deal with that, this isn't for you. If you're someone that gets a breakage, laughs, and says, "Oh, cool, I get to do something this weekend."
And to be honest with you, I haven't looked recently. I would be willing to bet money, like if you're following the Arch wiki, there's probably instructions that mitigate this as an issue. Probably isn't not even an issue, really.
And that's one thing I love about the Arch wiki.
And really, if you like on Ubuntu, if it's a PPA, I'm sure they probably update it with the kernel pretty quickly too. So it's probably in practice not as big of a deal. But
when in doubt, research first, then update.
Exactly. All right, Matt, do you think this is a problem for desktop Linux? Chrome OS can now run certain Android apps, and no quote-unquote porting is required. There are tweaks that each individual application has to be made to work on Chrome OS.
Because ironically, our brains are clearly in sync because I've actually started an article that'll be released next week about Chrome OS and how it affects Linux, and this is one of the components that will come about with it. I think it could potentially... So it's going to push Chrome OS adoption. There's no question to that because suddenly it's like, oh, apps. Okay, this is cool. Things that I already own.
The apps I love on my phone, I can now use on my Chromebook. Oh, you know, if I've already got a Google account. Chromebooks are super crazy cheap.
Yes.
I can now open up my Evernote on my Chromebook.
Right.
I mean, some people will buy it just for Evernote as an Evernote book alone.
Absolutely.
Which is why this is one of the first apps they ported was Evernote.
So I think for Android users, you're going to see a lot of people buying Chromebooks based on this because it does. It's a nice crossover. Does this affect Linux users? Not directly because I think they're two different goal sets completely. I think they're going completely different directions.
Let me read this to you, and then let's parse this. So a few months ago at Google I/O, Google demoed Android apps running on Chrome OS. We had a ton of questions. We talked about it then. Google is now making that demo reality by launching, and this is what they call it, App Runtime for Chrome Beta. So App Runtime for Chrome Beta almost makes it sound like that could be a portable thing that could just become a feature of Chrome itself, and you have to wonder, since Chrome OS is based on Linux, if you could maybe see this feature coming to the Linux version of the Chrome web browser?
It's possible, and if enough of it is open source to where someone can actually take it and run with it and bring it to the Linux desktop, then that actually enhances the Linux desktop experience because people are using things they enjoy using without getting into the dogmatic licensing and all that other nonsense.
Yeah.
So I think that if that's something that helps them embrace the user experience, that's fantastic. But at this point in time, I see this as basically an adoption push for
Chrome OS.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, because
I just think it could be if they did move that over to Linux, that could actually be a really, really, really big deal for the desktop, for Linux desktop, because all of a sudden, all of these apps would be available for Linux users.
Well, and all of a sudden, people have a reason that are not like hardcore Linux advocates have a reason to start talking about it. You might potentially, maybe, eventually see stores.
Ours did some digging, and they say the app code is all running on top of the Chrome platform, specifically inside native client. In this way, the ARC, which is the app runtime for Chrome, apps run in the same environment as other apps you can download from the Chrome Web Store, even though they're written on top of standard Android APIs. The developers do not need to port or modify their code, though they often choose to improve it to work well on the Chromebook form factor, like keyboard support, touchpad, optional touchscreens, and a few other things. It sounds like there are a few tweaks they have to make, so Google's going to be bringing apps over one by one. And they've started with 4 apps right now: Evernote, SiteWords, Vine, and Duolingo, which I think is a language learning app.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting, huh? And they say there's no porting required. It seems Google has built the entire Android stack into Chrome OS using native client. Both OSs are based on Linux, making libraries, the app framework, and the Android runtime the big difference. We wonder if it's using Dalvik or Art. They don't know. Android apps show up in the launcher. To me, it just seems like it would be technically possible to bring this to all Linux. And now maybe Google wouldn't be able to say it would work flawlessly on all Linux, But if it's all kind of bundled in Chrome, and we've seen in the past, Google's included freaking remote desktop into the Chrome browser, right? So you could see them building this in, right?
I see this as like a Chromium OS situation, the open source side of things for Google. I see that as definitely being the first stop for adoption if it does in fact come to Linux. What a lot of people in the room are probably screaming about right now in the chat room is security. How does this open up? A lot of people aren't going to like it. The purists are going to have a fit. And personally, for myself, I probably would never use it. That's my adoption of it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain about it. I'm not going to use it.
I got to believe it's not a great experience having an Android app on a desktop.
I don't think it would be. But but to poo-poo it because it isn't for you is just,
I think it's more of a utility thing. Like, maybe this would finally be the most back-assward way to get Evernote on Linux.
And it could be a security nightmare, but you got to fail to have that experience to then have something to point to. Pointing to the speculation of it is useless.
So let's talk about the other component to the army from Google that is encircling desktop Linux on. Yes. It's not really that dramatic, but
you would think so sometimes. Though.
Check out these mini PCs. They're going to ship with Android 4.4. These are desktop PCs shipping with a 64-bit quad-core Atom processor. They're coming from Minix. It's they're not the Linux distro, a different company. It's prepping a sub $150 PC. Less than $150.
Like an Apple TV, doesn't it? Yeah, that's crazy.
It looks like it's actually a little smaller than an Apple TV. It's an Intel Atom, smaller than a NUC. It's got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, IR, Ethernet, and of course several USB components, connectivity ports.
I like the design.
It's using the Atom Z37X5 system on a chip. It's a second generation 22 nanometer Bay Trail T family. Right. So it's a great chip. It'll support also any x86 operating system, but they're shipping the Neo Z64 mini PC with Android 4.4. So there's a good you get.
Oh yes, okay.
Got the HDMI there. There's your Ethernet.
Oh, I can see some use for this.
Yeah.
And as you pointed out, this is actually based on a company called Minix.
Yes, not the distro.
Not the distro.
Not Minix OS.
Nope.
The Minix company publicly confirmed on September 1st that the Neo 64 would be coming. It's due to ship in October for under $150 with Android 4.4 pre-installed. However, look at that. You look at that HDMI port there. I'm thinking IR blaster. It's got an IR receiver built in. This is an XBMC machine.
I was going to say, yeah, right?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it's got an Atom processor, but that'd probably be enough to chew through.
Some storage into that bad boy.
They have the higher end one has a clock speeds up to 1.83 gigahertz. Well, it's a quad core with 1.83 gigahertz. I think that would actually work pretty well. I don't know how it would do. I guess you could leave it with Android and just run the Plex Android.
That might be worth doing, and then actually seeing how the performance looks. Someone actually needs to buy this and benchmark it with some HD video and kind of see how it drags along and how that works.
So you can get it with 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigabytes of internal storage, and then it has a micro SD slot and 2 USB 2.0 slots. No USB 3 because the Intel system on chip does not have support for that yet.
That's okay.
Wi-Fi 802.11n and Bluetooth 4.0. 100 megabit Ethernet, not gigabit.
I think for what you're using it for and the limitations that are already in place, I think this does the job for what it has.
Dude, 100. This is a tiny,
right?
Got to be silent, I'm sure, as well. There's not even a room for a fan. $150 Linux PC. I mean, it ships with Android, but you could wipe that and put anything you want on there.
You could.
That is, and it's a freaking quad core. It's an Atom, but it's amazing.
Or Web TV 2.0. Grandma doesn't want to use a computer. Okay, here's a wireless keyboard. Enjoy.
I love how you can get a semi-reasonable Linux box now.
That's cool.
For that. That's big.
There's a lot of possibilities of what you can do with that. It's kind of cool.
It could become the glue for a lot of production shops, like the NUC is for us here. This is going to be big for those GNOME users that are running Arch. And this is something I didn't know if we were ever going to get, but GNOME software in GNOME 3.14 will work on Arch using PackageKit. This is thanks to some great work, some real yeoman work by Richard Hughes, who cleaned up the PackageKit backend for Arch and Pacman over this last weekend.
Oh, cool.
So that GNOME software will now run and it will utilize native AppStream metadata. This work is through the ALPM/Pacman backend for using GNOME applications to install and manage software for the platform. We've talked a little bit about GNOME software before, but it's sort of like a universal software center.
This is nice.
Yeah. This is
about time. I think this is great because I've been waiting for something like this just to kind of show off.
I mean, think about
that's cool. Good work.
You take a complicated distro like Arch, or actually, Arch is not complicated at all, but you take a sometimes not user-friendly distro, and you have projects out there like Antergos or many other ones that are out there.
Shim projects that help things along, sure.
But they don't have the resources to build an app store like Canonical does.
Right.
Now, they're just going to get something that's upstream from the GNOME project that exposes the software that's available to that distro. It's a great UI. They're going to continue to improve it for all distributions, and now Arch gets to be part of that group, which is really cool.
And what's interesting is a lot of people will say, well, we don't need an app store. And it's like, okay, so the new user coming to Linux knows exactly what application to get.
That's the problem.
It's a discovery tool.
It's all about discovery for new users. I now have this new computer. I have to figure out how, I'm okay with having a different program, but what is an equivalent to my favorite editor, or what is an equivalent to my favorite FTP client? And they have to have a place they can go to discover this stuff. And that's what this does.
And even for myself, every once in a while there'll be a program. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. I know what it does. I know it does this thing. It does, does text.
And you just want to be able to search by category.
Right. And it's like, I don't want to have to go fishing for it. It's like, boom, just get it done.
Yeah, and or sometimes it's nice. Like, hey, what are my different photography options? For managing my photos, and you just see them all in one place. And also, GNOME software can also be used to manage updates for the OS too. So there's just one place to get updates for all your apps, your OS. It's nice. It's
exactly.
nice.
And how nice it is to not have to crack open a search engine to do something you should be able to do within your desktop. In my opinion, I'm sorry.
Okay, our last story of the week. It's just a follow up to something I was just kind of commenting on recently. I was like, where's the news on the Ubuntu phones? So we had the BenQ phone that we were going to get in Q3. Well, Q3 is almost over. Yeah. And now we have an update here that we could be seeing. Pre-orders go up soon, and phones potentially ship in December. I don't know the details yet, really, because it's just kind of early days. And it's a little different than what we originally heard. It's a slightly updated version of the phone, the MUEZ MX4. And I got a little video here of it, so you can see. And it looks like a pretty hot device, and you could get this running Ubuntu Touch right there in these shots. It's running Android.
Good. That's because it's Android.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. No, the phone actually does look really cool, and I'd be interested to see what Ubuntu does with it for sure.
So what do you think, Matt? The BenQ looks like it might be a no-show because we haven't had any word on that, which is fine. I'm sure things just aren't working out.
Yeah, but
and now we see details on this phone. It's not the original phone we were told, probably because we were told so long ago that it's no longer a competitive phone, so they have to update it.
So,
but you look at there's some really great Android phones on the market right now. The iPhone 6 was just announced. The timing on this seems real bad because I think people are going to be spending their money this holiday season on iPhones.
Oh yeah, it's already gone. Well, here's the thing that I think just as a marketing ploy they're doing wrong. Don't promote something you don't have in your hands to sell yet. Just a fun idea. I know it's radical.
Oh man!
But it's covering your butts, and I don't mean that in a negative, angry sort of way. I mean that factually, because what happens is, how cool would it have been if we rewound? No one even knows this is a thing. They get it ready to go. They got the manufacturer. They're all good to go. They say, oh hey, by the way, boop, instant sales. That's what would happen. But instead, you've colored the water with a lot of. People are kind of questioning right now. Yeah. So when you are ready to do it, people are going to be like, "Yeah, I'm not really." I think
for people to spend that money, I think it needed to at least the pre-order needed to be live before the iPhone pre-order went live, because I feel like this is going to be a big one where a lot of people are going to buy the new iPhone because it's got a bigger screen, and people will look at this and go, it's an unknown.
Yeah, and you're going to pre-order an unknown. I mean, even that, it's like I don't know.
Maybe I'll dial that back a little bit, because I think I might reel that back, just thinking they are not making this particular instance for the general consumer. This is really for the geeks.
Even still, I'll give you a pre-order. I'll throw that a bone, even though I think I don't know, whatever, but.
It might not be as doom and gloom, because it is for the geeks. So there are a slightly different set of priorities there. People maybe might be a section of the market that was never even going to consider an iPhone to begin with. So it might not be bad. I am tempted to pick one up.
Yeah, it would be cool. I mean, I think they need to just reel back completely. I mean, because it's already, a lot of this is already to it. Just reel back and just mum's the word. Focus on other stuff, desktop, things like that. In the meantime, and then when you're actually ready.
Man. Boom. That ship has so freaking. That ship is so sailed, Matt. It is so sailed. I don't even know if it's still on the ocean anymore. I think it's.
Okay. Well, it's on a trailer heading to New Jersey, but whatever. Wherever the boat is, you could just. My point is that this isn't going to work.
I know.
Quit teasing what isn't ready. It doesn't work.
Well, it's getting. Maybe this is what they're saying is, hey, we're getting serious. We're getting close. That might be this might be the signal here. I'm going to go see.
And I want that to be true. So when it happens, my concern is that. I want to be clear on this. I want this to be successful. That's why I'm so frustrated about the approach that's being done. It's quit marketing like your Microsoft.
So when you go to the pre-order page, they say the pre-order page will be at this link, but then when you go there, you just get this sign-in.
This is what I'm talking about. This sloppy, half-baked.
So here's the phone. Here's a. Well,
oh yeah, well yeah, I'm gonna.
Never mind.
Yeah,
never mind. There we go. Here's
that
the phone.
instills confidence in me. You know, so here's a phone that may or may not even be running the OS I'm buying in a language that I may or may not speak.
And doesn't that look like a ripoff of iOS 8?
Yeah,
or iOS 7 actually,
big
iOS
time.
7.
So it probably looks like Android behind it. So I mean.
So I'm just looking at the prices right now. A 32 gig with 4G is 1,900 yen.
Maybe my solution is to just not give a damn anymore on this particular phone, because it's like the more I get so flustered with it, because it's like I want this to be successful, but I'm tired of making excuses for this half-baked
Chat room
nonsense.
says go. Say speak
God,
it.
this is so stupid.
Yeah, I think they're right. I think the chat room is with you. But then who is their audience then?
Well, and what's worse is there's developers that have worked their butts off on this. I know that they've worked really hard.
Yeah, they're working really hard, and they really have a lot riding on this
and they've
too.
And I know that they put their heart and soul into this thing, and this is how they're going to be treated, because they hand it off to the marketing fools, and then they, it's like
this part is a little. This part of the execution has been really shaky, just like from the beginning of just keeping us updated on what's going on, because if you're trying to build a fan base, you need to kind of be transparent to that fan base about this stage, because you need them to be your advocates, but they don't even know what to advocate right now. And then when the pre-orders come up, the announcements on a website that's not in English, which is fine because it's not for everyone that just speaks English, but it would be nice to have an English version. And then when you go to the pre-order page, you just get hit with a login, and then when you go to their main site, it's all in Chinese or something. So
developers, get yourself some Nerf guns, go find your marketing guys, and Nerf gun the hell out of them, because they deserve it. I'm just saying, because you guys are doing great, but your marketing guys, I don't know what they're smoking or doing or what's going on or how that.
Okay, so
I don't get it.
You have to. Okay, so the reason why that login page comes up is you cannot even pre-order until you register with their site. So maybe I'll try this during the break. I'll register. Although they don't have a register. Oh yeah, up here. So I'll register, and then I'll see if I can pre-order it. And
if any of their marketing people reply back with, "Well, you just have to blank," I'm going to slap you. You don't have to just blank anything.
I'm gonna try. I'll register. I'll go through I'll jump through the hoops. It's just like buying software from the software center. Even though it's free, you got to create an account and log in. It's the same thing. It's normal. It's how apparently everybody does it. Apparently, so it's no big deal. It's fine. It's fine. Customer experience. What? Customer experience. Nah, come on. It's fine. All right, Matt. That's all the news for this week. Producer Eric is about to join us, and he's going to cover a really common question sent into the show. A lot of you love your Ubuntu base, but maybe you're just no longer happy with Unity, and you'd like to get the latest version of Gnome on there without having to redo your entire installation. And Producer Eric is here with a great guide on how to do that. But before we get to that, I want to thank our segment sponsor, System76. Go over to System76.com right now and check out some of their great back-to-school specials. Eric, do you see that right there?
Yeah.
You can save up to $100, and you're like, man, that's awesome, right?
That's a great deal.
That's the Ultra Pro. That's why not go that direction? But also on their desktops, they've got incredible savings going on right now. And System76 has a whole range of desktops. Like they've got I think the sleeper right there, the Rotel Professional, because there's so much you could do. You could start at the value price and then just upgrade as you go. But then really, if you're ready to get some work done, I mean, if you know what's up, then you'd probably just go right to the Leopard Extreme. I mean, there's a whole range there. Or they have the touch screen there that would make an awesome desk machine at the office. I think the Sable Touch is something people should seriously consider if they're in a work environment. A lot of great machines, desktops, laptops. All of these run Linux out of the box. They're built to run Linux. They're supported running Linux. And when you buy from them, you are supporting a company that is themselves supporting Linux. I think it's a pretty nice trade-off too, because not only do you get something that you're not going to have to fight with down the road, but you know that your money is going to a place that's essentially voting for the continuation of Linux on the desktop. The year of the desktop is here for Linux if you get the right hardware, and System76 has got it. System76.com. And a big thanks to System76 for sponsoring the Linux Action Show. Go get yourself something nice and tell them the Linux Action Show sent you. I've been using my Bonobo. Those of you who watch the show for a while now. This is the original Bonobo that I got 2 years ago. Still one of my... I was just telling Rikai yesterday that out of all of the computers we have in the studio, this is the most reliable. This is my go-to. It's right here on the desk. I leave it here now because I do a daily morning tech show, and I need to make sure my system's going to work because I can't fight with my computer in the morning.
It's a beautiful system, and it
rocks.
Packs a lot of power. It's great.
And one of the things I love about it? It's running Gnome.
Oh,
it's
awesome.
running Gnome. But a lot of folks out there, they don't want to switch to a different distribution. They're really familiar with the base of Ubuntu. Maybe they use Ubuntu on their servers, so they want to keep it on their desktop. But they would like to try out the latest version of Gnome, which is not necessarily easy on current versions of Ubuntu.
No, it's not. It's a little tricky to switch from one desktop environment to the other one while still keeping just the
all
same
your
base.
stuff.
All your stuff.
Like all your
Anything you've got-
setup, like if you've got your GPG keys configured, you've got all the packages you want installed. Like, do you really want to nuke and pave just so you can install Ubuntu Gnome Edition? You could.
Right.
But
and the other thing is you might have a home directory that you don't need, that you
Right.
want to leave.
Or multiple home directories.
Yeah, exactly. Multiple home directories.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to
Yeah.
completely nuke and pave your system in most cases.
So you
Ubuntu by default does not allow for a separate home
Right.
partition. So that's kind of one of the big things about this, why you might want to do something like this
That's
if you're
true.
tired of Unity.
Yeah, so if you're tired of Unity, you put together... See, I think what's key about your guide here is it's actually not that difficult to get to a version 3.10 of GNOME on Ubuntu. But if you want to get to GNOME 3.12, the latest version of GNOME, that's where maybe it's a little extra tricky. So the guide's going to walk us through that too. So,
Correct.
So I guess we need to get started with just getting GNOME on there, right?
Right. Let's just first of all start getting GNOME. First thing we're going to want to do, and a lot of people don't like to do this, you're going to have to open a terminal window. I just use Control-Alt-T.
You gotta.
Bam.
Get in
and
there.
There it is.
It's really the easiest way. Plus, not only that, but Eric's going to have these commands that he's going to use in. Probably we'll have it as available as a PDF that's going to be linked in the show notes that you could go grab the commands for this too.
Right.
All right, so we start by probably doing an update and an upgrade. But have you already done that?
Yeah, I've already done
Okay.
that, so we can save some time there. So let's go ahead and just, first of all, install Task Cell.
Oh, yeah, the task selector utility. This is a great utility because it brings up an ncurses interface that allows you to select a preset of group of packages. So this
Right.
is something that developers have gone through and identified, like these are all part of this meta group.
Right, and this is also the main installer for like Ubuntu Server or the Ubuntu Mini ISO.
Right. Yeah, after you install Ubuntu Server, you can use this to get up and going with the LAMP setup pretty quickly.
Correct. It's the exact same.
So we're going to do
piece of
something
software.
more, though. We're not. I assume we're probably not going to set up Apache, MySQL, and PHP.
No, we
No.
are not.
Okay.
We are not. You'll actually see how simple this is going to be.
Okay. All right.
So, I'm gonna
now we
go-
run Taskcell?
Yeah, we just go
Sudo first.
Sudo Task
Okay.
Cell.
All right. And that stands, you've probably guessed it, Task
Yeah.
Selector.
Task Selector, yes.
And now I wonder, they have added stuff since I've looked at this before. This is nice.
They have. You can just change your whole setup to a basic Ubuntu server just
Right.
by using your spacebar to select that.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do is, you notice print servers on there. Don't get rid of that. You,
Okay.
You want that sucker. That's
Okay.
cups.
Okay,
You
good
need
to
that.
know.
But you'll also notice as you're scrolling down through this, you can actually select even
Kubuntu Active, Kubuntu Desktop.
and Kubuntu Full.
I
So
like
your whole kitchen sink distro right there of Kubuntu.
Yeah.
Right there. Lubuntu as well. Mythbuntu.
What?
Everything.
Man,
is
they've
in
added
there.
a ton of stuff since I've used this last.
Yeah. Okay. The first thing we're going to want to do is see that star there for Ubuntu Desktop. We're going to get rid of it.
What, Eric?
Yeah,
Won't
I
that
know.
ruin my Unity desktop?
I know. That would actually ruin your Unity desktop.
So
believe it or
huge
not.
caveat at this point. We are entering a range, a zone, an area, a moment, a line, if you will, of no
Yes.
return.
Yes, this is the point of no return. Once you hit OK after this.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay.
So let's go ahead and get rid of that. And see, Ubuntu Gnome Desktop is right above that. So we're
Yeah.
going to go ahead and
Check that.
Check
with
that.
the space bar again,
And-
using arrow keys to move through, and
Yep.
then you use the tab button to tab around, like to the OK button.
to
there.
the OK button. So that's the next thing we're going to want to do is hit OK.
Now, this seems pretty scary, but you've done this on several systems in testing.
I have not
And
only
it
virtual
hasn't
systems,
blown up yet?
Has not blown
Okay,
up.
well, so
Yeah,
there you
and
go.
a lot of people will notice that I'm running this in VirtualBox.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you're not going to have that big of a deal. It's going to be the exact same process
Yeah.
on a live system.
Right, you've done this on a live system.
Yes,
it's just,
I have.
It's easier for demonstrations to
That's
do it
right.
in VirtualBox because we've already done the work.
That's
And
right.
now we need to do it on a fresh system. So now it's going to go out and pull down the packages we need
Yep.
to get GNOME. So it's going to do an apt-get in the background. So during this process, we were watching, you can see now Eric's desktop is transformed. The Ubuntu button is gone for the dashboard. The notification area icons are all jacked up. Things don't look quite right. So this has been exciting.
Yeah, it's
like-
kind of fun to watch.
It's like watching your Unity desktop die from the inside.
Yep, and
We're poisoning it with GNOME right now.
Exactly. That's pretty much what's going on. Is
Yeah.
it's turning all its runtimes over. The thing is, Compiz is still in the memory, so that's still managing the windows. You can tell, and all Unity really is a Compiz plugin.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's just still got that in memory, so that's why we still have that up.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, actually.
Yeah.
It's like a zombie. It's just almost dead.
Zombified Ubuntu. I like it.
All right, so it's our last thing, 99%, Eric. And then after we get all of our packages installed, are we about to do a restart and then we're going to be in a GNOME desktop?
Correct. We'll
that's
actually
close.
be in full-fledged Ubuntu GNOME 14.04 at that point.
This is the last moment. There it goes. 100% post-installation scripts are now running. All right, there
Here
we go. Okay,
Now-
so we're dropped down to the terminal.
We're dropped down to
However,
the terminal. We cannot use Unity to restart at this point.
what would happen if you tried? What do you see up there?
Basically, what will happen is you can actually see the
Shut
menu,
down,
but the minute you click on that shutdown button, it's going to go blank. You won't be able to do a thing. You're going to have to force shut down your machine.
Oh, okay, because then it goes to do something that's on disk and no longer
That's right,
exists.
that's
It
right.
Freaks out. So while you still have your terminal open, execute your restart from there.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
Sudo reboot.
okay. So do not try to do it from the GUI. All right,
Yep.
now here we
And
go.
Here we go.
All right, so how is our new GNOME buddy doing? Still
It's
loading up there?
Still loading up.
Okay,
It's kind of a
all
black
right.
screen at the moment.
That's not encouraging, Eric. I'm going to tell you. I'm a little worried that it's busted forever.
Oh, it's not.
It's probably never going to... Oh, hold on. HTML5 cam just... Oh, shoot. Just
Oh, there it is.
There it
it
is.
is.
We got it.
Okay, we got it. So, yeah.
Nice.
You have little faith.
Well, I was just trying to bring the drama up a little bit, keep people tuned in.
Right.
It's like reality TV. Like what we need to do is like while it's booting, like Chris goes into the confession booth and like, I was convinced it wasn't going to work, but we had to do something because we were live on the air. So I just hung in there. I was so relieved when I saw it boot. That would be my confession booth.
Yeah, that would be. And then my confession booth would be, oh, I totally knew this was going to work. Chris had no faith in what I was doing, but I could totally tell it was going to work. And I don't know. It's about that guy sometimes.
All right. Okay, so now we are in GNOME, but this is GNOME 3.10, not exactly where we want to be, but not necessarily a bad place either. So what's our next step once we get to our first GNOME desktop
So our
here?
next step is we have to, lo and behold, open up another terminal.
All right. That's okay. I won't hold it against you. So we're going to bring up the terminal again, and let me guess, we're going to do some more package magic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll notice that you can't, in GNOME, you can't use the Control-Alt-T because it's not enabled by default. So...
Somehow
Just
I managed through.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Okay. Now, do you already... Had you... Okay, so you are going to use a PPA here. Is
Right.
this something that is put out by the GNOME project? Who manages this PPA?
actually, this is the Ubuntu GNOME team.
Okay, good.
that
Great. I was
manages
hoping
this.
that's what you were going to say.
So they are keeping an eye on it, and we're actually going to have to add 2 PPAs.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I know, right?
This is egregious.
Yeah, egregious. But
All right.
it's not as bad as it sounds.
It's not as... And you guys, luckily for you, won't have to type it out like Eric is here.
Yeah.
We will have it in, like I said, in the show notes so you can copy and paste it. But if you're not familiar with the command, it's app-get-repository, and then the name of the PPA. And in this case is gnome3-team/gnome3.
Oops.
So this is definitely a development PPA, but you're trying to have fun here, right? Trying to make your desktop a little more cutting edge.
Correct.
This is about having a good time with our Linux.
Correct.
And not worrying about the freshness or lack of stability in the code.
Yeah, and like it says...
It gives you a warning.
This is actually... They consider this one stable. It's just like GNOME 3.10
Yes.
that didn't make it into the normal...
Right.
repositories.
It's stable now, for right now. Yeah.
Correct. And but that's not the only one we're going to want to add. We're also
Okay.
going to want to add the GNOME 3 team staging repository.
Staging.
So that's sudo apt or add apt repository.
Sudo add-apt-repository. And then I see it's PPA::gnome3-team
Yeah.
/staging.
/ GNOME 3-staging. I have to fix that in the notes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
GNOME.
And we have it there in the video for those of you watching.
/ GNOME 3-staging.
Okay. So now we're adding 2 PPAs to your Ubuntu rig after you've installed GNOME, not before you installed GNOME, which
Correct.
is interesting, right? Because you would probably think that backwards.
Yeah, you don't want to do that because otherwise you're going to potentially hose your system.
So now you need to do an update to go out and refresh your package cache there.
Correct. And so that's what it's doing. It's just going to refresh our package cache.
Now, I believe, and I might be wrong, but I think our next step is one of my favorite commands to run on any Linux box ever.
Oh, yes.
And that's apt-get dist upgrade. Or maybe apt. I don't know. Do you just do apt?
I just do apt because it gives me that nice progress bar that you guys see across the bottom in some cases.
So this is considered by the package manager to be a distro upgrade, and that's, I guess, kind of technically what it is. And this is going to go out and pull down all of those updates from, look at those right there.
Yeah,
Boom.
It's got 304 megabytes of additional space, 163 megabytes of archives to get.
Okay.
So in my testing, this is the part that takes the longest.
Yeah.
Just because it has to basically...
Go get 300 packages.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll let it go, and then we'll come back when it's done. Okay, Eric, it is at the final moments. I see 98% progress of setting up and installing GNOME 3.12. I've seen some really tasty packages go by. I think like Seahorse right there.
Yeah.
I love Seahorse.
Seahorse. Sushi is a great one for Nautilus. Yeah.
And of course, we are now at 100%, which means we are so close to having a GNOME 3.12 desktop on top of Ubuntu 14.04 that I can taste it.
Yeah.
And the best part is, you're pretty much ready to go to 14.10 when that ships. You just disable these PPAs that you've added today, and then do a dist upgrade when 14.10 ships, and you should be clear.
Yep. And the next thing we're just going to do is reboot this, and this time we can actually use the menu.
Hey, there's a concept.
Yeah, weird, huh?
Okay.
So if it'll ever come up, the thing is I am running this in a virtual machine, so okay.
So now we're going to reboot and this is our last session under 3.10, and then we'll be back.
Right.
And it'll be 3.12.
I don't know why it's asking for authorization, but it just did.
Well, maybe maybe it's super secret to restart now.
Maybe.
It's a new GNOME feature.
Yeah.
They've added security. They want to make it super secure. So the thing that Eric's going to do after he gets GNOME 3.12 up and running is he's going to go get extensions. Now, you don't have to go crazy with extensions, but fire up Firefox. Don't do it in Chrome. Go to go into Firefox and then go to extensions.gnome.org. If you're a new GNOME user, you'll discover that there is an entire selection of extensions that add sometimes some needed features to GNOME. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes some needed features. Like, I really think the dock they have implemented there is like one of the best docks on a desktop anywhere. And it's like, now, I wasn't even a big dock guy until I switched to GNOME. And it's just one of the many extensions. I've got clock extensions. I have extensions that put my status icons up in the top bar. There's all kinds of good ones you can get. Just don't go totally crazy. And then if you install, hey, do you know, does that PPA include a GNOME tweak?
It does, actually. You can go ahead. You just have to install it, man. Actually, no, it is.
Does it include it?
It's included.
Either way, it's either, if it's not, it's in the repo.
Exactly.
So you can use GNOME tweak to manage the extensions you've installed. You can disable them. You can see when there's updates available. You can turn them back on.
Yep.
It's a really nice tool, and it makes having a few extensions kind of usable and manageable. All right, Definitely. So I noticed our new installer is booting up right now.
That's correct.
Ooh, it's exciting.
Yeah, gonna have a nice fresh GNOME 3.12.
Do you have any must-go-to GNOME extensions?
My ones are .dock.
Yeah, you got to have the dash to dock.
The other one is you might have to tweak it, but there is a something that decreases the space.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It makes it on the overview.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Does that. Another one I like is the audio switchers.
Yeah, audio output switcher puts your audio output switcher in the menu. I've got the Bitcoin market, so I can keep an eye on Bitcoin prices, which is depressing right now. Here's an obvious one: extension update notifier. It is an extension that just tells you when there's extensions that need updating. I've never
gotten that one to work for me.
Well, what you have to do is it just tells you, and then you just go to the website and do the update manually. I think. Yeah. I've got to-do.txt. Oh, the one that puts your like system tray icons up in the top bar, which is a great one, is called just top icons, one word.
I have to have that one.
It's nice because then I can see what my Dropbox and OwnCloud is doing. I can see that Chrome's running in the background, which otherwise I just kind of, when it goes down in the shelf, I just kind of lose all visibility on it.
App Indicator Sport's also another good one.
Workspace Indicator is also really nice. It puts a workspace indicator up in the top bar, and then you can take your mouse over that workspace indicator and scroll, and it switches through all the different virtual desktops as you scroll.
Yep.
So you don't have to bring up all the activity. So how are we doing over here on our GNOME box?
We are all set. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up the settings.
Oh yeah, I can already tell. I can already tell it's so beautiful. It's so good. Oh man.
Well, if you take a look, the biggest thing that's going to indicate is your network indicator icon there, showing we're on a wired network.
Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah.
It's pokey in this virtual box, but there you go. And if you scroll down there a little bit, there's the details. Yeah, go in there. And there you go. There's GNOME 3.12.2, the latest version of GNOME Stable on Eric's Ubuntu 14.04 installed. It started with Unity. Yep. All his user data is intact. All his programs are still installed. Correct. He doesn't have a Unity desktop anymore.
Correct. So it does not have Unity anymore. You cannot go back at this point. You could, but you'd have to use TaskCell all over again. You'd also have to do a PPA purge for those GNOME repositories we added.
You could actually recover, though.
You could. You could.
Yeah. It's fun, right? I mean, it's good times. So we'll have a PDF version. The reason why it's a PDF is just to keep the formatting so that way it's much easier to read. We'll have that linked in the downloads, or in the show notes. You can download that, and you can grab the PPAs and all of those commands right there.
Correct.
It's a good setup, and once you get it rolling, leave us a feedback in the Linux Action Show subreddit of some of the extensions you've tried or some of the things you've tweaked. There's also, you'll find in our Linux Action Show subreddit, a thread for customizing Firefox so that way it looks beautiful. beautiful on the Gnome 3 desktop.
Yeah, I've done it, and it makes it look like it belongs.
It looks like a native. It makes Firefox look like a native Gnome application, which is really cool.
And now, recently, they have implemented a version that will actually use the dark theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's lots of resources to go to now, and of course there's plenty of distros you can run Gnome on. But we know some of you. We've gotten a lot of questions from those of you who want to do on the Ubuntu base, and so that's how you do it. That right there is the Linux Action Show's guide to putting the latest version of Gnome on top of your existing Ubuntu install. And that brings us to the end of this week's broadcast. But hey, Matt.
Yes.
Before we get out of here, we got a little systemd survey we want to put out there for the people. So you can go over to systemdsurvey.com. I think, what is it? Of course, once you go there, it redirects. But Q5sys just registered a really fancy domain URL that you can go to. But I also just have a link in the show notes. And it's already gotten quite a bit of response. I think it's near 3,000 responses that he's gotten.
Oh, I gave my submission for sure.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, first, I'm not going to do this. And I was like, of course I'm going to do this. Why wouldn't I do this?
Right.
I was like, at first, I was like, momentary curmudgeon. And then I moved on. Yeah, so it's systemdsurvey.com. If you would like, or we'll have a link in the show notes, you could take this survey. And essentially, we're trying to get our head around the whole systemd controversy. Mainly, I want to determine if we are witnessing a little bit of a manufactured controversy in the Linux community. And I want to establish some baseline facts. The fact that we've gotten almost 3,000 responses already is awesome, and we haven't even mentioned it in the Linux Action Show yet. So we will have a link in the show notes. Please go take the survey. I don't know why Q5 asked your education level, so just lie. No, I'm kidding. Don't lie. Answer everything truthfully. But I got a tweet. It's like, why are you asking me what my education level is? I find that insulting. I'm like,
that's why they have
general
other
info.
I put something about like living in a Munchkin land or something. That's why it has other.
Can I ask you something? In the question of in a four-way face-off, who would win? Linus Torvalds, Richard Stallman, Lennart Pottering, or Captain Jean-Luc Picard? Which one did you pick?
I believe I actually picked Picard only because of how he handled himself with Cardassians and Klingons. I mean, the Klingon thing was basically a push for me.
But did you see how ripped he was in First Contact? Dude brought out the guns when he was climbing up the side of the warp core in the tank top. Patrick Stewart's looking good. I'm just saying.
You think from all the voiceover work that he kind of let it go? No. He was ready.
No. He's and you know what? And then he I had to also vote Jean-Luc Picard. I'm just gonna put that out there. Linus, if you're watching, I wanted to give it to you. Richard, I know you've got the beard maneuver where you could wrap him up with the beard and then strangle him. I understand. And Lennart, you're lean, man, and you can move.
Yes,
you could shuck and jive. So Lennart, I think I'm not counting you out either. But come on, Jean-Luc Picard. Captain of the Enterprise, the flagship of the Federation. Give me a break.
He can scrap Klingons. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, you had a great article this week over at Datamation. I saw a lot of people digging on it in the subreddit. Top Linux myths dispelled.
Yes.
You got fired up.
I did get fired up. I was just kind of going through. It was kind of a antidote to all the crap that I see out there, and I want to kind of address what actually happens from my perspective as a Linux user and as someone that is also dealing with a lot of people that may be new to Linux. What people are actually dealing with, not just what some idiot writer slaps on a page because he booted into a distro once in his lifetime.
Yeah, if I do a little hating on Linux, I'll get a few clicks. You know, that is such an old, tired formula.
So I did some hating on
and some rebuttal to that hate too, which I really like. I think that's really great. I think we need more positive Linux stories out there all the time. So you can find that over at datamation.com. Go to the open source dropdown, or just click the link in the show notes, and you'll find Matt's latest article, a two-pager, too. I'll give a quick plug to the Twitter feed. You know, it's just a great way for you guys to stay in touch with things as they develop on the network. When we go live, I tweet there. If we have a schedule change, if we're doing a special episode about something, like if we're live on a Friday recording a segment, you can find out about it by twitter.com/ChrisLS. You don't even have to be a Twitter user.
It's a great way to stay in tune. What's going on?
Yeah, you could use it as a read-only feed, too. And if you needed something besides a little intellectual stimulation, perhaps you want to go a little deeper, go down into the entertainment industry, maybe something like, I don't know, video games. Matt's got you covered there, too, with this week's Geek and the Gamer.
We need someplace very dark.
Okay. Well, it's not like the first one I've heard that.
How about your closet?
How I really I'm not gonna...
He's gonna show you his pink elephant.
Oh my.
Oh, a little Sulu in there. Little George Takai in this week's Geek in the Gamer. Really nice.
Yeah, if you guys managed to push through the entire thing to the very end, we actually have a moment that actually scared the living crap out of us.
Oh, really?
I mean, like, I just...
This is one of them spooky games,
Well,
man.
yeah, it was a spooky game. Did it in the dark room. Didn't really notice it until it, like, happened. It was just like, you know.
So they got you. It's like, it's better than a horror movie, isn't it?
I was actually really impressed with it. I'm liking it so far.
Among the Sleep,
We
Part
will be
1.
playing it.
YouTube.com/Geek and the Gamer.
And, of course, it runs Linux.
There you go. And don't forget about systemdsurvey.com. We'd love to hear your opinions, where you sit with systemd and your background, so that way we can help make a little bit more of an educated discussion in future episodes. And last but not least, don't forget we'd love to see you live. Head over to jblive.tv Sundays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. is Eastern, and I believe that 6 p.m. UTC. Time zones are tough. But you don't have to worry about that. Just go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar, where we have robots standing by. They're hiding just underneath the HTML to convert that to your local time zone and deliver it to your browser in real time. Why not put them to work? I pay millions for them. That's where all the money goes. Trust me. Robots. Oh, and then also monkeys. We do have the trained monkeys over at jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact. Now, you need the personal touch. That's why we didn't use robots. We used monkeys to get that hands-on approach.
They're very handsy.
Yeah. So all you have to do, you go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact. You get your insightful commentary ready, maybe your question for the show. The last 2 episodes of the show have been based on your questions.
Yes.
You go over there, you choose Linux Action Show from the drop-down. Now here's the best part. You put your insightful comment in there. When you click that submit box, that's when the monkeys come in. They hand deliver it to the hosts or host of that show for you. You don't have to worry about it. Monkeys do it. Robots and monkeys over at Jupiter Broadcasting. That's our long-term strategy. We'd love to see you there live, jblive.tv on a Sunday.
Good stuff.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. We'll see you right back here next week. Bye. Okay, so I don't have a picture of the outside, but it's a bus, and it's been refitted for the Marysville local police.
Wow.
And it has a huge pole. I mean, a really tall pole. They send way up into the sky.
Okay.
And then they have a cluster of HD cameras up on top.
Oh, it's like a command and control on wheels.
And then they bring it all in to this RV, this rig, and so here you can see and then they also right here they have 3 different satellite TV feeds so they can monitor the news during a crisis situation.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was talking to the guy, and the way he's explained to me is they envision this is the Marysville local police will drive in there, park this thing, and be in the middle of total chaos, and then they have a meeting room with a table with Ethernet jacks and LCD TVs along the walls, and so they can watch camera feeds from the thing. They can watch TV news feeds, and then they have a video recorder that's recording all of it, like a DVR.
That's crazy.
All the different feeds in there, and then out on the sign they have total cost $270,000. Yeah, right. No, way. It's way more than that.
That sounds off.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was the Bellingham police station. I
here's
remember
the
when they
screens.
first put their thing together, they were bringing in stones from other countries and stuff for the walls, and it's just why?
So this is the here's some of the camera feeds of the event that they're watching.
Yeah.
So you can see there's the train ride right there.
That's and I bet for even just when they do a state fair or things like that, they bring stuff like that in because then it's kind of a command and control for security.
I suppose it's a little creepy to me though.
It's a little overkill.
But the guy's I guess that's probably the better way to put it. It's a little overkill, and the guy's like, oh yeah, I know. Oh, and then they have this unit here, which this alone seems like it's probably $60,000.
Oh my god!
This is a huge power inverter converter thing where you can switch between generator, truck power, truck battery, and a hookup.
Wow!
And it does AC/DC conversion and all of this, and it powers all of the equipment. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, that alone is probably almost $70,000 right there.
Yeah, no, I think someone kind of adjusted the budget on that one a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's financially, I'm not real thrilled with some of it, but I think it depends on what they're using it for. If they're using it in an actual crisis, okay, that's fine. You're helping people.
However,
if you're just harassing folks, then no, probably not.
I did learn that if this podcasting thing doesn't work out, I think I'm going to become an ice cream truck driver because look at $1,500 for this ice cream truck. Okay,
what?
Really? It says right there $1,500, right, for that ice cream truck.
Wow.
And you figure each
I just park it out in front of one of those medical marijuana places, man.
There you go.
Instant money.
There you go.
Right?
Well, that's just pretty much all of Washington. This has never been a better time
just drive around in the key neighborhoods,
Yeah, when I just think that we should probably go to the HTML5 cam more often during the show to get immediate reaction from HTML5 because, as you know, HTML5 is always right.
Oh yeah,
and
well, it
knows
fixes
all.
everything.
Right. So we should like so when we get to the part about how Arch just got a lot easier for GNOME users, we should go like, and so I think that's going to make a lot of usability improvements, and not to mention bring something that's uncharacteristically easy to use to a distribution famous for difficulty. HTML5, what do you think? Wait, no, HTML5. See, that's why we got to practice. HTML5, what do you think? And then we go to the drone cam for reaction.
God.
Oh, see, then we got to react. Oh, HTML5
right.
cam, you're so funny. Ha, ha, ha. And then back to more insight from HTML5 cam.